Teaching aptitude. Hermeneutics is a part of theology. It is the interpretation of language, whether written or spoken. An existentialistic teacher should emphasize on freedom, responsibility, and subjective feelings. Teacher is not the center of the instruction, but rather a facilitator to help students better understand who they are as individuals. Students should have a choice in what they learn and that the curriculum needs to be somewhat flexible. Plato. Idea of education of most talented. A teacher is faced with the problem of choosing the appropriate teaching method for the transaction of a course content. Branch of philosophy describing his predicament. Epistemology. Theory of knowledge. Reconstructionism. The principle of the child, the school, and education itself are shaped by largely by social and cultural forces. Focus on social reform in curriculum. Sri Aurobindo concept of integral education. Howard Gardner multiple intelligences. Masterly learning. Carlton Washburn. Pitch of the teacher voice in the classroom. Paralinguistic. 5 E's instructional model of constructivism developed on the theory of learning occurs through the search for epistemological structure of learning. Engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. Inquiry-based learning in which students ask questions, decide what information enhances their understanding, and then self-assess. A teacher given a lot of positive and negative. A teacher gives a lot of positive and negative examples to support with presentations in the classroom. Understanding level of thinking. Effectiveness of teaching has to be judged in terms of learning outcomes of students. In emphasis in memory level, teaching is on organization of thoughts and ideas. Systematic presentations to enable quick reproduction, mastery of concept, sequencing of facts. A model of teaching is a description of a learning environment. Highest taxonomic categories in the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains of learning. Evaluation, characterization, naturalization / origination. The variability of flexibility of a delivery during the presentation of a lesson by a teacher is called instructional variety. Sequence of Kolbe's experiential teaching learning. Feel, watch, think, and do. Characteristics of a good question paper. Objectivity, relatability, reliability, validation. When the learning outcomes of teaching are ensured with employment of less resources and effort on the part of a teacher and more initiative for self-learning is evident, then teacher is effective. Reactive mode of students' behavior is not a component of effective teaching. Characteristics of a learner that helps in the effective teaching. Mental ability, level, interest, interpersonal relations, and the societal perspective of the learner. Giving personal attention to each student individually. Example of tautology. Process-based questions, divergent questions, fact-based questions, open questions. According to the revised Bloom's taxonomy, highest form for the learner, creation. Formerly, it was evaluation was the highest. Characteristics of non-conventional learning. It is for the improvement of quality. It is cost-effective. It is linked to employment. Maximum performance test. Aptitude test. To identify individual differences of learners in a class. Formative assessments. MOOCs on Swayam portal can be used for earning up to 40% credits per semester by the students. All MOOCs on the Swayam portal are credit-based MOOCs. Free web-based distance learning program that is designed for geographically dispersed students. Swayam tries to take the best teaching learning resources to all students through video lectures. When the test data tells us about a student's level of proficiency in a defined area, the procedure of evaluation is called criterion referenced testing. Learners' participation is made optimal and productive in project method of teaching. To judge the effectiveness of teaching, level of realization of instructional objectives, time taken by the student to learn, resources used by the teacher in teaching, instructional facilities and learning environment, non-availability of textbooks, reading materials, proactive moves in the interactive process, availability of smart classes, concepts and main proponents focus on Spiritual aspects of Indian philosophy, Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan. Learning to take place in nature and from nature, Rabindranath Tagore. Experiential learning, John Dewey. Training types and their major objectives. Pre-service teacher training, upgradation of knowledge. Practice teaching, acquaint new entrants with duty and responsibility. Induction training to develop teaching skills. The order of activity in advanced organizer model of teaching. Presentation of advanced organizer. Presentation of learning task material. Strengthening cognitive organization. Clarification of students' problems. Learning styles and their characteristics. Accommodators, hands-on learning. Converger, hands-on learning and theory. Diverger, real-life experience and discussion. Assimilator, theories and facts. Main objectives of curriculum revision: to align it better with vision and mission of the institution, to make it learning outcome based, to make it more effective in improving attainment levels against program outcomes, to meet the expectations of all stakeholders. Contributive to direct learning, simulation and role playing, participation in workshop and assignments, interactive presentations, learner characteristics associated with field dependent, holistic visual learning style, relating concepts to personal experience, preferring to cooperate rather than compete, perceiving global aspects of concepts and materials. Research aptitude, research design, the conceptual framework in which research is conducted. Fundamental research, developing an effective explanation through theory building. Applied research, exploring the possibility of a theory for use in various situations. It applies the laws at the time of field study to draw more clearer ideas about the problem. Action research, improving an existing situation through use of interventions. Evaluative research, finding out the extent of perceived impact of an intervention. Correlation analysis, seeks out association among variables. Manipulation is always a part of experimental research. Interval, scale of measurement where order, classification and equality of units are ensured. Research is not considered ethical if it doesn't ensure privacy and anonymity of the respondent. Features of research paradigm. Research is concerned with understanding the social phenomena from the participant's perspective. It's conducted in actual settings as the direct source of data and the researcher is the instrument. It's concerned with the process rather than simply with outcomes or products. The idea that knowledge comes from experience is empiricism. A grand theory is a broad explanation of phenomenon in a discipline. Post-positivism. The nature of reality is external to human mind. The focus is on critical reality. The purpose of research is to find universals. The acceptable method and data is basically scientific method. This method is nearer to inductive approach. Scientism. Science is qualitatively distinct from, superior to, and ideal for all other areas of human endeavor. Methodologism. The distinction to superiority and idealhood that science enjoys is traceable to its position of method. Methodological monism. There is only one method common to all sciences, irrespective of their subject matter. Inductivism. A method that is common to all sciences, natural or human. A scientific approach and social science research should take into account the factor of covariation, time order, the possibility of theorization. The two main approaches of a research, qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative research is primarily concerned with in-depth exploration of phenomena. Quantitative research specifically requires objectivity to discover facts and causes from the data gathered. Causal modeling. Researcher develops theoretical model and empirically tests the model to determine how well the model fits the data. Objective of a research can be written only in statement. It should be pinpointed. Hypothesis can be stated in declarative, directional, or null and question form terms. A satisfactory statistical quantitative method should not possess flexibility. Objectivity in research implies findings consistent with reality. The extent to which an instrument measures a characteristic that cannot be directly observed but is assumed to exist is construct validity. The verification that the method of measurement could actually measures what it is expected to measure is known as content validity. Generalization of outcome of research, external validity and inference. To test null hypothesis, a researcher uses X-square, chi-square test. Descriptive research among all types would least likely include a research hypothesis. A null hypothesis is when there is no difference between the variables. Development this process for a research question. A broad question is made more specific as terms are more clearly defined. Good research questions are feasible, clear, significant, and ethical. Attributes of objects, events, or things which can be measured are called variables. A statistical technique used for a large number of variables to establish whether there is a tendency of groups to be interrelated is factor analysis. Categorical variable. Religion, teachers, hair color. When studying an active independent variable, an intervention or treatment given to a group of participants is called experimental group. A manipulated independent variable is called an active variable. The behavior that is measured during an experiment. Dependent variable. Generalized conclusion on the basis of a sample is known as statistical influence. Probability sampling. Each person in population has equal chance of being selected. Non-probability sampling. Some people have greater chance. Example, quota sampling. A representative sample is essential in survey method. All kinds of harm may be suffered by the research participants. The act of publishing the same data and results in more than one journal or publication is called duplicate publication. One of the preoccupations of quantitative research is with generalization, which is a sign of external validity. Communication. Berlow's linear model of communication, SMCR. George Herbert Mead. People know each other and themselves only through communication. Process communication has no beginning or ending. Shannon and Weaver model of communication is linear. Dyadic communication, transfer of messages from a person to another person and vice versa. The study of relationship among words. Syntactics, aka grammar. Wilbur Schramm. Culture is a value-free asset. Marshall McLuhan. Concept of global village. Masses can unite to effect changes. Medium is the message. Habermas, major contributor to the theory of communicative reason and communicative rationality. Use of propaganda is considered an unethical communication. Denotative message have more or less same meaning for the audience. Writing in personal diary is called mediated interpersonal communication. Horizontal communication, peer-to-peer informal exchange with an equip to resolve conflicts. Mediated communication is mass communication. Source. Person or an event which provides you verbal or non-verbal cues to which someone can respond. Classroom communication involves formal lecturing, informal discussion, explaining. It is goal-oriented and collaborative. Grapevine informal communication. Faster than formal communication network. Less accurate, found in almost all organizations, not preferred over formal communication. Level C of the effectiveness of communication is channel noise. Speaker uses complex terms, semantic noise. For overcoming the communication barrier in a classroom, identifying the level of redundancy, voice inflection, contextualizing the speech. If a teacher helps student get meaning out of what he teaches, he will become an effective communicator. The psychological aspects of the classroom are best managed by class teacher. If a student raises a hand to speak in class, he is using emblem. Communication in the class fails because the teacher is monotonous. The facial expression of students relate to the message element of communication. Focusing, illustrating, exaggerating. Aspects that don't disrupt the communication process in the class. Journal-like entries posted on the internet. Weblogs. According to Mehrabian, the respective contribution of words, tone of voice, and body language in overall communication are 7%, 38%, and 55%. Paraphrasing is a skill absolutely necessary to effective listening. The transmission of culture from one generation to another is called enculturation. Steve Jobs contributed towards the development of www. C.P. Scott said, "Comment is free, facts are sacred." Logical reasoning. Deductive proceeds from universal to particular. Deductive inference can be identified by analytic. Inductive reasoning is grounded on uniformity of nature. A cluster of propositions with a structure that exhibits some influence is called an argument. All tigers are animals. Example of universal affirmative. No dogs are reptiles. Both subject and predicate terms are distributed. Some girls are students. Subject term girls are undistributed. Predicate term students are distributed. Inductive reasoning would be helpful in finding new knowledge of facts about the world. It's based on uniformity of nature and observation to theory approach. Some students are sincere, particular, affirmative. A fallacy is a false argument. Collection of all objects to which a term may absolutely be applied is called the extension or denotation of the term. Certainty is logical. Inductive logic studies the way in which a premise may support a conclusion without entailing it. Connotative messages have more or less same meaning for the audience. Aristotelian syllogism. It is only deductive and formal. The major and minor terms stand apart in the premises. It is verbalistic. Statement 1. No villagers own a car. Statement 2. Shankar owns a car. Conclusion. One Shankar lives in a town and Shankar owns a car. Answer. Neither one nor two follows. Town is not mentioned. Premise and conclusion cannot be same. Information and communication technology. Multimedia education. ICT supported education. NPTEL. No short program on technology enhanced learning. Sequence of understanding ICT in education. Policy understanding, policy application, policy innovation. ERNet. Educational and research network. ICT not a subset of IT. Symbols A to F used in hexadecimal number system. Modern computers cannot process analog signals. First generation computers had vacuum tubes and valves as main component. Fortran. Formula translation. In analog computer, input is never converted to digital form. Computer storage from highest to lowest. CPU registers, cache memory, main memory RAM, secondary storage. Line access and avoidance of collision are main function of network protocols. Poor recall, finding a large number of documents with very little intelligent information. Use of an ordinary telephone as an internet appliance. Voice line. Guidelines or standards that establish the format in which files can be transmitted from one computer to another. FTP. Protocol specifically for exchange of emails is SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. The internet is a collection of interconnected computer networks that are linked by transmission mediums such as copper wires, fiber optic cables, wireless connections. World Wide Web is a collection of interconnected documents. RFID, radio frequency identification. For any search term, search engines provide the same exact results to all the users. Higher education system. Sequence of Indian philosophy periods. Upanishadic period, Vedic period. Vedang are subjects of Vedic literature. Phonetics, grammar, astronomy. Examples. Upanishad period. Sutra period. Nidhi Dhyasan. Comprehension of truth, applying it into real life. Rig Ved. Mantra. Samved. Chant. Yajurved. Rituals. Atharvaved. Spells. Ayurved. Lesson during Atharvaved. Charter Act 1813. Education made an objective of British government. 1 lakh allocated for the support purpose. English Education Act 1835. Macaulay's Minutes. Imparted English education. Wood's Dispatch 1854. Vernacular education. Set up 3 universities in 1857. Grants and aid. Magna Charta of English Education in India. Sadler University Commission 1917. Look into the performance of Calcutta University. Elphinstone's Minutes 1923. Origin of the present higher education system. Inter-University Board 1920. Later called Association of Indian Universities. Sadler Commission, precursor to 10+2+3 system. Radhakrishnan Committee recommended setting up UGC in 1945 to look after Aligarh, Banaras and Delhi Central Universities. Radhakrishnan Commission recommended setting up UGC in 1945 to look after Aligarh, Banaras and Delhi Central Universities. Report of the Central Advisory Board of Education on Post-War Education Development in India. Sergeant Report. University of Allahabad 1887. Central University is established under an Act of Parliament. President of India acts as the visitor of the university. President can nominate some members of the executive committee or the board of management of the university. National Board of Accreditation ranks technical institutions. Oriental Learning Institutes. Asiatic Society, Madras Sanskrit College, Methodic Society. NIEPAI, Planning and Management of Education. ICSSR, promote Research and Social Science. AICTE, Promotion of Quality in Technical Education. CBCS provides courses from core, elective, and ability enhancement courses. Ability enhancement compulsory courses, and skill enhancement courses. NIRF, National Institutional Ranking Framework. Indian Institute of Advanced Sciences, Shimla. Indian Biological Sciences and Research Institute, Noida. Indian Institute of Social Sciences, Bhopal. Indian Institute of Sugarcane Research, Lucknow. Academic Council, statutory body of university with power to accord formal approval to the program and courses of studies. The Higher Education Commission of India, verticals of HECI, NHERC, HEGC, NAC. Environment. Auto ecology, also known as population ecology, is the study of individual organism or individual species. Synecology, study of group of organisms of different species together as a unit in form of a community. Earth Hour, organized by World Wildlife Fund, started as lights were switched off for a fixed duration in Sydney, Australia in 2007. The contaminants in biomagnification are heavy metals such as mercury, arsenic, pesticides such as DDT. The secondary consumers will be the most toxic. Vehicular pollutant, carbon monoxide, particulate matter, sulfur dioxide. Nations emitting highest carbon dioxide population in increasing order. India, USA, China. Nations with highest per capita carbon dioxide emissions, increasing order. India, China, Japan, Russia, USA, Palau, Qatar. Greenhouse gas emissions at a global level in decreasing order. Carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, fluorinated gases. Greenhouse gas emissions in India sector-wise. Electricity, heat, 37%. Agriculture, 21%. Manufacturing, construction, 17%. Transportation, 9%. CO2, 76% of greenhouse gases. It is a trace gas. Methane, 20% of greenhouse gases, 25% more potent than CO2. Benzene emissions, car exhaust, carcinogenic, toxic. Carbon monoxide, toxic and can cause respiratory disease. Can asphyxiate as hemoglobin has greater affinity to CO than O2, then to carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide than oxygen. We hear at 30 decibels or above and whisper at 1 decibel. High hazard waste may contain pathogens. 3 seismographic stations are needed to locate the center of earthquake. Rio Summit 1992, Kyoto Protocol 1997, Johannesburg Earth Summit 2002.